The inn was dark and empty. It stood silent on the grassy hilltop, the ruins of other structures around it. Rot and age had brought low other buildings. The weather and wildlife had reduced stone foundations to rubble, and stout wooden walls to a few rotten pieces of timber mixed with the ground. But the inn still stood. It was waiting. Not in a sentient, thinking way, but in the way all buildings wait. It was waiting for someone to find it. For wasn't that the purpose of an inn? And someone did find it. A young woman stumbled through the grass up the hill. Her knees were shaking and she was gasping for air. Her lungs burned. Her right arm was burned. Smoke was still rising from the charred fabric on one shoulder, and her legs were bleeding. Several shallow cuts had torn open her pants at the back of the legs. But still, she climbed the hill because of the inn. After all, there was no mistaking it. Despite the years, the building stood among the rest of the ruins, mostly untouched by the passage of time. The construction of this inn was superior to the other buildings, or perhaps something else had kept it standing. Regardless, that was not what attracted the young woman to it. It was merely a thought. The inn. In every world, the inn was a symbol, from a place to meet and rest, to a meeting point from which epic quests could begin. The inn's hearthfire and warm glow at night was a beacon for the weary, the hungry, and the desperate. But this inn was dark. The signboard over the inn was rotted, and years had worn whatever name it held away long ago. The windows were dark and shuttered. But the girl, the traveler, had nowhere else to go. Slowly, hesitantly, she stumbled towards the door and pulled at the simple handle on the door. Nothing happened. After a second, she pushed and the door creaked open. Mustering her courage, the young woman peered into the black room beyond. Her instincts told her it was a common room, a place where food or drink would normally be served. However, the inn was long deserted, and a thick layer of dust covered every surface. Of course it's empty. The intruder sighed and leaned against the door frame, her strength exhausted. She rested her forehead on one arm, wincing as she felt her burns, and the cuts on her legs. She tried not to cry. She'd known the inn was probably deserted when she'd seen it from afar. She'd known, but she'd hoped. Ever since I came to this world, everything's been going wrong. Slowly, she pushed herself back upright and walked further into the room. The inn gaped darkly around her, absorbing her footfalls, looming. It had been built to hold huge crowds of people, and it was cavernous in the night. The young woman felt as if the building might swallow her, but where else could she go? Inside was darkness. Outside was worse. There were things outside, monsters. She'd seen them. Monsters in an unfamiliar world, a world that wasn't hers. Slowly, the girl stepped over to a chair and collapsed into it. A plume of dust rose and she burst into a fit of coughing. The dust was overwhelming, but she was tired, so very tired. And though it was empty, deserted of all life and dark, the inn still called to her. Its walls offered some safety. So the young woman sat and closed her eyes for a moment. It began to rain outside. A cold, hard rain that pattered on the rooftops and seeped through cracks. Tapping, dripping. The young woman's eyes opened a crack as the pattering became a rush of sound. The shower became a heavy downpour. That was one misfortune avoided at least. It was peaceful. The young woman sat back and felt the pain of her injuries fade, at least for a moment. The rainfall became background noise, and she felt herself relax for the first time in what felt like ages. She decided to rest here, at least to begin with. But a thought nagged at her, something she could only voice now in safety. So she opened her eyes and addressed the empty room. "I'm really hungry." After a few minutes, the traveler sat back up. No, not a traveler. She hadn't intended to travel anywhere tonight. The young woman frowned as she rubbed at her face. She'd been going to the bathroom, and she must have taken a wrong step somewhere. A really big wrong step. Because instead of walking into her bathroom and seeing the comforting sight of porcelain, she's suddenly found herself in a cave, nose to nose with a dragon. The young woman shot to her feet, heart pounding. She looked around and remembered she was in the inn. But the memory was fresh, and her burned arm. She felt at it and winced. This is no dream, but it felt like one. It felt like she was in a dream, because that would be so much easier to explain than reality. The reluctant traveler took a deep breath, and then another, then coughed. Dusty. She tried to rationalize what was happening. First things first. Who am I? I'm Erin. Check, we're off to a good start. She smiled weakly. That's right, her name was Erin. Erin Solstice. It wasn't an easy name to forget. And, though it was hers, she did object to parts of it. For instance, Erin could have been a boy's name, and she was a girl. At least, she had been a girl. Erin poked herself with a frown. Yep, still a girl. Glad to see that didn't change. Now, inventory check. She felt at her pockets. She had 2 empty pockets. Wonderful. Erin had hoped her smartphone would be with her. But who carried their phones to the bathroom? Everyone sensible, that's what. Most people began their journeys well prepared. If Erin had known she would have ended up in this place, she would have brought along a backpack crammed full of essentials, and a gun, to fight off the little green men. But she hadn't planned this adventure. She hadn't known it was going to happen. How did one travel to another world, or another place? Erin's forehead wrinkled as she thought. This was clearly no virtual reality. She didn't remember being drugged or abducted, and she was fairly certain she wasn't crazy. Although, her present situation made a good case to the contrary. But if any of those logical, real-world explanations didn't fit, that only left magic. Erin didn't believe in magic, normally. But seeing a dragon an hour ago had changed her outlook on the existence of the fantastical quite rapidly. And yet, there had been no summoning portal, no mystical ritual or feeling of stepping into the void. Heck, there hadn't even been a loud ding to indicate something had happened. I just wanted to go to the bathroom. She hadn't opened the wrong door or stepped into a wardrobe. Erin clutched at her head. This was impossible. She was going insane. No, she'd already gone insane. And this empty inn was her mental depiction of the padded room they tossed her in. It was as plausible an answer as anything else. However, if she was insane, she was still sitting here in her head. So Erin looked around cautiously. The inn, what a strange place it was. Erin had never been in an inn, or even a building made exclusively out of wood before. But there it was. Wooden walls, wooden beams in the ceiling, wooden staircase leading up. Am I in some kind of medieval world? Some kind of fantasy world? The haunting emptiness of the inn struck Erin harder the more she looked around. At first, she'd just been pathetically grateful to spot any kind of structure. In the rolling grasslands she'd found herself in, Erin had run towards the inn, full speed. But now, having found herself in the inn, Erin was ill at ease. It was so empty. So dusty, too. Really dusty. And although the room's common room was large and spacious. The large, round tables and chairs made it feel smaller. A long counter at one end of the inn gave Erin the impression of a bar. She felt there should have been a bartender behind it, polishing a mug and serving her a lovely, cool drink of. Erin sighed and slapped herself lightly on the head. Now she was thirsty and hungry. Time to think of something else. She took a deep breath and coughed, then sneezed. This place is disgusting. Someone should clean it up. She paused. After a second, Erin looked around. I guess. That means me. Welcome back. This week I will be reviewing the incredible litRPG fantasy The Wandering Inn by Pirateaba here on the Board Goddess Book Reviews. Hello, bookish friends, and welcome to another incredible week here in my library. I am the Board Goddess, and I am beyond privileged to share with you another brilliant story. Please remember that by liking and subscribing to my channel, you are helping me to continue uncovering awesome stories, and to keep creating video book reviews for your enjoyment and entertainment. While you're at it, please feel free to toss a comment or two my way with thoughts on the books I review, as well as things you'd be interested in seeing added to the videos. Or you can just say hi. By the way, stick around to the end of the video to learn about my new giveaway. I can't wait to spill all the deets. Let's welcome back Mad Max, my chief ratings duck. With a stroke of pure genius, he calls upon his feathered companions to gather the most accurate data, and together he and his flock craft a flawless rating. So Max, are you ready to embark on another thrilling adventure? Right, my friends, let us away upon a new journey. This week's offering is the absolutely wonderful slice of life litRPG fantasy The Wandering Inn by Pirateaba. The story was already in my private collection, but was also suggested to me by a viewer known as ML through the reader submission form on my website, theboardgoddess.weebly.com. As promised, ML, thank you so much for the suggestion. You have great taste in books. Before we continue, I want to point out this book is intended for mature audiences, specifically older teens and adults, as it contains scenes of violence, trauma, and sexual undertones. Although these elements are crucial to the plot and are skillfully crafted by the author, I must caution those who might be sensitive to these topics. Don't you just hate it when you're on the way to the bathroom, minding your own business, and suddenly find yourself transported to a whole new world? Well, Erin Solstice knows exactly how you feel. Except in her case, this new world is filled with irritable dragons, real-life magic, and hungry customers who happen to belong to a weird species you've never heard of before. Step into a world where lizard people called drakes, just don't call them lizard people to their faces, human-hyena hybrid gnolls, necromancers, raising the dead, and giant talking bug dudes are a common sight. Rock crabs scuttle through the fields, and mildly evil goblins lurk in the shadows. It's a wild and treacherous terrain, but Erin is determined to not just survive, but thrive in her new class as an innkeeper, all while gaining experience, levels, and skills. And this strange, extraordinary life is about to take her on one heck of an adventure. Originally, The Wandering Inn was a web series on Royal Road. If you've watched my previous videos, you already know I'm a real fangirl of this awesome site, and I've added a link below in case you're interested in learning more about it. As this litRPG fantasy grew more and more popular within the Royal Road site, the author chose to publish it, and I was first in line when it debuted on Amazon. I'm sure some of you are wondering what exactly is litRPG. The fundamental definition of this fantasy genre is rooted in the realm of role-playing games commonly referred to as RPGs. Stories in this genre typically feature the premise of individuals from our world who are involuntarily transported to an alternate realm. These characters must adapt to their new surroundings and rely on their mastery of magic and interaction with fantastic creatures in order to survive. Now, it's not uncommon within these worlds to have classes, levels, and skills the same as within role-playing games. The Wandering Inn is no exception, but unlike other litRPGs, it doesn't overwhelm the reader with hit points, mana, or experience. Instead, the author skillfully integrates these things within the story, allowing us to experience Erin's new existence right alongside her character. The moment I delved into this monumental tale, I couldn't help but think, this is going to be one wild ride. With over 1,200 pages within the first book alone, and 7 more novels to follow, I knew I was in for a literary adventure of epic proportions. And I was completely consumed by this wonderful story, lost in its pages for days on end. Who needs sunlight, the outdoors, or personal communication when you have a story this captivating? I've said it before, and I will say it again. I am a sucker for a well-written book. Let me be honest here. I love this book. I mean, I love, love, love it. The world and characters in this book are easy to read and beautifully crafted, with every additional aspect adding to the richness of the story. In some books, a reader can get lost within an overly crowded narrative, but in this book, the sheer number of characters only adds to its depth. While The Wandering Inn does draw from a number of common tropes, it still manages to enhance these with a unique flair, creating a story which stands strongly on its own. Its wonderfully woven text irresistibly lures you into its plot, only to unveil one intricate layer after another, like an onion, and entices us to delve even deeper. I simply could not put the story down. I found myself continually thinking, just one more sentence, and I'll pick it back up tomorrow. But before I was aware, hours had elapsed as I devoured more and more chapters, eager to uncover what happened next. There were spelling and grammatical errors, but for me, these didn't present a problem. Also, as most viewers of my videos know, I am someone who is all about a monster-sized book. And at 1,235 pages long with extensive world and character building, it was right up my alley. However, if you are a reader who prefers fast action that gets right to the point, or if you're seeking a quick weekend read, this book is probably not for you. Alright, Max, it's that time again. Let's rate this incredible book. Are you ready to share your thoughts? As usual, you are spot on, Max. It's no secret, I was totally blown away by The Wandering Inn. The story is incredible. The characters are amazing, and the world building is spectacular. And that's why Max and I do not hesitate to award The Wandering Inn our highest rating possible. 5 ducks. I have linked to the Amazon affiliate page for this book below. Please do check out this and Pirateaba's many other incredible stories. Have you read The Wandering Inn? I would love to discuss it with you in the comments or in my Discord, also linked below. I'm on Instagram, Goodreads, Facebook, and X. The links are there. This is thirsty work. And if you'd like to help me in my continued quest to boost authors, both indie and traditionally published, you could send me a coffee. Speaking of which, I want to give a shout out to an amazing viewer. Viera Day, here's a huge round of thanks for sharing a cup with me. The coffee link is listed below. Every little bit helps me keep making my videos. Wait a second, board goddess, I hear you say. Is that a new mug? This This little jewel, my friends, is a part of the new giveaway for subscribers only, which begins today. We are less than 60 subscribers away from 200, and if I reach that number by September 30th, I'll be doing a random draw from my subscriber list. 2 lucky winners will receive either a cup or a t-shirt, featuring my catchphrase along with some adorable artwork. So please share the link to my channel and encourage others to subscribe. And before another moment goes by, thank you so much to each of you who have become part of my gatherings. You make each video worthwhile. So guys, that's it for now. Thank you so much for hanging with me. Adios till next Wednesday. May your day be epic, and may awesomeness follow you like a sad puppy needing hugs. Bye all. But the memory was fresh.
And her burned
And
arm. She felt
Ern
sad.
Barm? If Heron?
Heron?
I'm changing the name. But Sing a Dragon an hour ago.
He said sink a dragon.
Don't sink him.
They float.
Better than my battleship, I guess. Aaron had never been in an inn. Aaron had never been in an inn. Aaron had never been in an inn. Welcome back. This week I will be interviewing
We would not be interviewing anybody as far as I know.
Wow.
I'm going to be doing something. I don't know what. We're just throwing words out there now. And to keep creating video book. The story was already in my pirate collection. Yo ho ho and a bottle of webcomics. Web novels, actually.